Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. So today I'm going to be talking about this particular painting in a little more detail, kind of take you through more step by step of how I put it together and the techniques I use. And just so you guys know, I'll have all of the color mixtures for each part of the painting, each portion of the painting in the description below. So if you want to check that out, I'll have it there. Okay, so let's jump into it. When I got started on this painting, I did a sketch just with a pencil right onto the canvas, just so I have an idea of where each color is going to go. It was followed loosely. I didn't follow everything precisely to a T perhaps. But what I did to get started was to fill in the sky with just some white mixed with some orange. And I did this by doing an acrylic underpainting. So this first portion is all acrylic paints. And after I filled that in with just an even mixture of white and orange, I moved to sort of that horizon in the background. And that I just added a little bit of magenta to the mixture. So orange, white, and magenta, and just filled that in. So this portion I really went through quickly, just blocking in color to color, trying to build up the right composition, the right proportions, just so I can get the white covered on the canvas and so I can see everything and visualize how the end result is going to be. So as I move down through these mountains, the colors start to get a little bit darker, and all that is some gray mixed with some red. It almost looks like a violet or purplish color, but that's just sort of the effect that it gives you. Just some gray mixed with a little bit of red and maybe a touch of white will give you kind of this effect, this look. So I'm just continuing to layer those mountains, just trying to get darker and darker as we move closer to the eye. And I'm really not paying attention to any details at this point. A lot of this ended up getting filled in and covered over the top with some different details. So as I got down lower into this foreground, this is basically just a dark gray. It's essentially ultramarine blue and burnt umber mixed with just a little bit of magenta. So just a nice dark, little bit of a bluish gray. And then once I got into the foreground, I just filled that in with almost just a black color. So once I got that blocked in, I went back to the sky and just added a little bit of cloud detail. So this was again just adding a little gray to some red, just kind of a warm gray, and just feathering in the idea of some clouds in the sky. And you can see I'm leaving that sun white, just kind of leaving it there so I know where it's going to be. And finally just adding a little more red right underneath the sun just to give kind of that area a little more life. So once that's all done, I just took some white mixed with a little tiny bit of yellow and just brightened up that area of the sun, and that was pretty much it for the acrylic portion. So at this point, I'm moving to oil paints and I'm starting with the sun, and I'm going to work my way away from the sun and down towards the foreground. So the sun was of course just white, and then this mixture off and around the sun is just some cadmium orange mixed with just a tiny bit of black just to neutralize that down a bit. And so I'm starting to cover up a lot of these clouds with this color. And so really this whole portion of the oils and the purpose of it is just to correct the color, to smooth out some of the blends and fine tune things. Now, if you were using all acrylics, the process would essentially be the same, just might be a little bit harder to get some of those blends, which is why I like to use the oil paint for a subject such as this. But it's really quite possible to do with acrylic paints as well. It just takes a lot more patience and layering to kind of get that effect. So back to the sun, I'm just adding some yellow and orange to some white and just trying to feather that out. I want the sun to appear to have some rays shining below it. So you can see I'm just adding some white below the sun, and then I'll take the brush and just kind of feather it into the other colors, just lifting that up a bit, kind of giving us the appearance of light rays. You can see I chose to go quite a bit lighter than my original underpainting with acrylics. At this point, I've added a little bit of red into the mixture, so I did have white and orange. Now just a bit of red to give that slightly darker look lower in the sky. And just doing a lot of blending. Now I'm ready to move to the mountains themselves. So Again, this is just fine tuning the color. What I've essentially done here is just mix the same mixture of gray and red, but I reduced the amount of black in the gray mixture and I reduced the amount of red in the mixture as well. So it's just more of a neutral gray, but some warmth to it as well. So once I get this distant mountain range in, I move just below it where I'm going to kind of create a glow effect onto the ground. There was a lot of haze in the air that morning. So I'm trying to just fade those mountains in with kind of an orange-yellow haze below it. And once I got that mixture of white and orange in, I just started to add some cadmium red and just really richening up that area below with a lot more red. I believe I might have added a slight amount of magenta into some of these areas as well. And then from here, I added just more black and a little more red to the mixture. So you can see that's just a little more vibrant and a little bit darker. And so these ridges get darker and darker as you get closer to the viewer. And that kind of creates that perspective. Just blending that out, feathering it out. Okay, so now at this point, I basically started over with some gray mixed with a little magenta and a touch of blue, just a small amount of blue. And you can see that going on a lot more violet looking. And as we get closer to the part underneath the sun, I just add a little more magenta just to blend that into those reds up there. But as we move away from the sun down into this next ridge, it's just a lot more violet. So magenta and blue, more black, just a darker color. And I'm really just blocking this in essentially, but making sure that my blends are a lot smoother and a little more careful with the edges of the top of those ridges. You can see I'm adding a little more violet to this hill right here, just trying to match that to its surroundings a bit more. And then as I got lower into that area, I just added more blue, so you can see that appears to be more bluish. Well, that's just because I've added more blue. And finally, that ridge down below is just some black and some ultramarine blue mixed together. And it gives us just a nice deep look. So I blocked in that whole ridge with this blue color. And actually a part that I can't seem to find is, and you'll see in a minute after I finish this blue ridge, I added just a little bit of white to the mixture and added the appearance of some textures. You can see those textures just popped up now, but fairly simple to do. And then finally finished up by just adding some more black to the mixture, black and blue, just filling in that area down below. And then just the idea of this meadow right here. So just kind of feathering in the idea of some trees. And finally just finishing up the bottom left corner with some solid black right out of the tube. And that was pretty much it. There was nothing else to it. So here's the finished result. Really just a very simple process to get this one done. Each ridge is essentially a solid color, and aside from the sky, of course, which is just blending those colors together. But the key to this painting was just making sure that each ridge gets lighter and lighter as we get further away to the horizon, and that we don't mix that up at all and cause confusion in the perspective of the painting. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Just leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer. And until next time, make sure you're subscribed if you want to see more art videos like this. And happy painting.